We have a fantastic panel of guests who will be sharing their perspectives and experiences tonight. And first, I am thrilled to go ahead and introduce our lovely moderator, Rose Scott, who is the host of Atlanta's NPR affiliate WABE's Closer Look. Rose, thank you so much for leading and being a part of this conversation tonight. I will let you take it away.
Wow, well, thank you, Julia, and thank you, Atlanta Ballet, and good evening, everyone. You know, I know under normal circumstances, we all would be under one roof, right? In a nice ballroom or space. Atlanta Ballet would have had a nice Chardonnay for me because that's the only thing I require as a host. I don't know about the panelists. But we know that our normal is anything but since March of 2020. And I know right now, just 2 weeks into the new year, there's a lot going on in our nation. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, often in times of national discomfort, how often do we look to the arts for comfort? You know, it's what we all enjoy, right? Whether it's visual or literary or performance or culinary, we enjoy this expression of creativity. And along with that, we enjoy the ability for all of us to access this creative portal, right? We also expect it to be representative of society at large. And so that's why I'm real honored to be a part of tonight's discussion. We'll focus on all of that. You know those words, diversity, inclusion, and equity within ballet. And we want to remind you that this is a conversation, so we invite you all to be part of it. Keep your cameras off and muted, but we also want you to send questions. You can send them through the Zoom chat feature. Some of you already on here know me because you're sending me text messages already with your questions. That's okay too. I'll take that. I'm not going to give you my phone number if you don't have it, but we will try to get to as many questions as we can. And understand that tonight's dialogue is about moving forward. It's about how do we expand this great platform for all. So feel free to ask your questions. And for disclosure, I told the panelists this earlier. I took jazz ballet when I was about 8 years old. I was all up in there. And then we all decided I should go play basketball and run track, and everything worked out for everybody. And, no harm was done. We're all happy. But I'm thrilled to welcome panelists who have an extensive and an outstanding experience, their own lived experience. And that's why they're on this panel. Now, if I read their entire bios, we'd be here till midnight, and I'm hungry. So we're just going to do a little abbreviated one. Dwight knows I'm hungry. He knows what that's like. First up, Nicole Adams, Atlanta Ballet Centre for Dance Education, Virginia-Highland principal. Now, Nicole has been both an instructor and administrator with the Atlanta Ballet Centre for Dance Education since 2012. Also, you heard me mention him earlier, Dwight Rhoden, acclaimed choreographer and co-founder of New York-based Complexions Contemporary Ballet. Next up, Dominique Morel, Atlanta Ballet 2 dancer. And Diane Caroll Sales, Atlanta Ballet Community Partnerships Director. Greetings to you all. Happy New Year. Thanks for being a part of this. Nicole, I want to begin with you because I want you to take us back for a moment to that moment you knew ballet was more than just a passion, but that you wanted this to be a career. You wanted a career within this art form. Can you take us back to that moment? And how old were you?
Well, I fell in love with dance when I was 11, but I knew that I wanted to be a professional dancer and an artist when I was 17. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do for a career. I met with a guidance counselor and I said, I'm going to be a lawyer. And he was like, he said that very quickly. Are you sure you want to be a lawyer? I said, yeah, I'm sure I want to be a lawyer. He said, are you sure, what do you really love to do? And I said, I love to dance, but you can't really what are you supposed to do with that? He's like, oh, you have no idea. You can go to college and study dance. You can do so many things. And he really inspired me to think about it as a education path. And I knew at that moment, if I really wanted to take dance seriously, I had to really step my game up. So I transferred to a performing arts high school, a public high school for performing arts in Boston Arts Academy. And I took my training more seriously there. And eventually I went to college and I majored in dance and arts administration in my undergrad. And then I have an MFA in dance performance and choreography. So I have a terminal degree. And I wanted a terminal degree on purpose because I wanted to be able to educate the masses on dance. people who are advocates for dance, people who want to be dancers, people who want to be dance administrators like me and who want to be dance educators. But I knew that when I figured out, wow, I really love to do this and I could actually do something as a career that I love to do, that I had to really take it seriously and know that this was an option. There were options for me to do something I was passionate about as a career.
All right. Dwight, what about you? When did it hit you?
Okay. Well, you know what? I started dancing very, very late. I started dancing when I was 18. And I had done everything from play every instrument, run track, be in the drama club, everything. No discipline really, but I used to dance. We danced in our household. So we always just did the social dances. And I used to get into a contest every weekend at the school dance on Fridays. And there would be a contest and I would make up these elaborate routines. And I would always get about second place, never really first place. But there was a professional dancer, a young lady that was in the contest every weekend. And she basically said to me, you know what, you really should think about it. You have a great body for dance. You should think about it. It's like, oh yeah, I love to dance. And then she said, come to the studio. And she gave me the details about that. And I came over and I literally walked into the studio and just walked into the middle of the floor. Now, you know, that's not how you do that. You don't just walk into the middle of a class and start dancing. But anyway, the long story short is I fell in love with it right away because it was, I had never seen the level of discipline. This was, I'm from Dayton, Ohio. So there's a company there still thriving called Dayton Contemporary Dance Company. And I just kind of like, that was it. I fell in love with it there. And I knew that it was the most natural thing to me. It was like nothing else really hit. I was about to graduate and didn't really have a focus, and dance took over. And here I am all these years later.
Dance took over. I like that. What about you, Dominique? Can we hear Dominique?
Oh, we can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Dominique.
Now?
Yeah.
I grew up going to dance classes from a young age, but I was never really serious in ballet until I was 18. And something just hit when I was 18. I said to myself, I really and truly love ballet, and this is something that I could see myself doing. There was no other career path that I saw that truly fit me and my personality. And so I decided when I was 18 to go to a professional school in Florida. And I just trained as hard as I possibly could because I knew that I was far behind all the other students at my age, because normally you start auditioning for second companies around that age. And I knew if I really wanted this to be a serious career, I had to go somewhere and just try my hardest and train. And that's what I did. And I just love the career path that I chose.
Cool. Diane.
So I actually, I saw a ballerina on television for the first time. That's my first experience seeing dance on a small black and white TV in Brooklyn. And I saw a Russian ballerina on pointe. And I was just fascinated with pointe shoes. Like that drew me in right away. And my mother came, I was 9 years old. My mom came home from work and I was just talking a mile a minute and I never talk. So she was like, hey, slow down, slow down. And, I just explained to her, this is what I want to do. And I honestly feel like I've never turned back from that. And my aunt sought out all the major ballet schools in Manhattan. And on my 10th birthday, I was given an audition notice for the fall to audition for the Joffrey Ballet School. And that was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to me in my young life. And I went to the library and got some books on ballet. And I tried to imitate every single position. The illustrations were drawn in, and I taught myself all the basic positions because I knew I had an audition, and it was just such a big deal. I didn't know. I just followed everything I saw in this book, and the illustration had the girl with the bun way on top, and I put my bun way on top and just practiced. And when I went to the Joffrey, I was prepared. And the teacher just asked me, where I learned, and I just explained that I taught myself. And I was a student at the Joffrey at 10 years old, and I was just very fortunate. We did not have a lot of expenses for ballet, and after the first year, I always remember my mom going to the director and explaining that, that we just couldn't afford it. And they wanted me to take more classes in my second year. You build up as you mature. And they offered me, assistance, and it just felt like something that they didn't, this was a long time ago. I'm showing my age now, but they weren't really, scholarship programs or support, at that time. So I just, to see my mom just open up to someone, at first I was embarrassed, and then, when looking back, you appreciate that she knew that I needed to do this. And that's all she kept telling, like, she needs to dance. That will live with me for the rest of my life. But, I've had a lot of good support in my life from people. And I think it really, directs your path into what you're going to do in the future. And I went on to a high school performing arts in New York City. And that was my way out of Brooklyn. I was determined to get out of Brooklyn. And, and it felt like I was, finally in control of my surroundings. Junior high school was a very rough neighborhood that I lived in. And ballet was kind of like my escape. I got to go to Manhattan, be around other people, and, really experience something different and have a pathway, have some hope, and what my life was, looking like. So, moving from Joffrey to a performing arts high school, and then being exposed to the Alvin Ailey School, and knowing, that I had to keep working. I just knew that I had to keep working hard and taking the burden of the finances off of my mother. That's all. I just was so determined to work hard, and always grateful for all, the support I've had through my years. And that led me to just continue into a professional path.
Diane, let me ask you this real quickly. When you, along that journey, did you see a lot of other young dancers that looked like you that came from your community?
No. I was the only dancer of color at the Joffrey when I was there for, I think, the first 2 years. And then there was another young lady, student, a little girl. We were little. Her name was Pam. I'll never forget her name. And I, at the beginning of the year, you get new people in class, you got moved up, maybe, and I was just so happy, to see someone else of color. And it at first.
Diane, I think you're muted somehow. Yeah. I think Diane. Okay.
Is that better?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. So I think in the beginning, I just didn't feel, I guess as a young child, try to recall what that feels like. And I don't think I realized, I just felt like I was not in the world that I didn't feel like I didn't belong, but I knew that I was entering in a world that there weren't many people like me. So I was always very aware of that.
Nicole and Dominique, and you are not some generations, you're a few years removed from Diane. Did you all experience the same thing? Did you see a lot of other young dancers that looked like you all, that were of color?
I personally did not experience that because I grew up in Miami, and it's
Okay, yeah.
ethnic city. And so growing up, I was taking classes with many people from Brazil, from
Hmm.
Canada, and so everyone looked different. And so I didn't feel like I stood out in any way. And when I transferred over to my pre-professional school, it was the same case. So
Same thing.
it was the
Okay.
same. Everyone was multi-ethnic.
What about you, Nicole?
Actually, I think that when I walked into a dance studio, it was the first time I ever made friends with anybody who didn't look like me, or
Yeah.
saw people who didn't look like me. Growing up in Boston in my neighborhoods, I was always around people like me. My parents are from Jamaica originally, so I'm a first generation American. I was very much around other cultures that were like mine, including my academic schooling. And when I asked to take a dance class, I walked into the room and I saw just white people. So it was very much like, okay, this is different. But I really wanted to be there. So it didn't stop me from coming every week. But for a long time, I was the only Black person in the room. And yes.
Wow. Dwight, I know you danced with Albert Ailey, but other than that experience, have your experience where you might have been just one or the only person of color?
Yeah, during the time of my training, which was really at the same time as I actually got the opportunity to dance, and that was because there were not enough boys, or I was very lucky in that way. But to be able to have afforded a dance education very, I don't want to say easily, but easily, I didn't have to do much but show up. In terms of there being, the company that I started with is a predominantly Black company in Dayton, Ohio. However, they sent me over to the ballet school for me to really tighten up my technique and pull it together. I needed training. I was 18 already. And they were like, well, if you're going to do this, you better pull it together over there and, get the fundamentals. Over there, there was really no one of color. It was pretty much an all-white ballet school. And then I also ran into that as my career progressed. It was really, the field itself was definitely predominantly white, which we know. And I do remember feeling a bit weird about it. However, I come from a mixed background, so I'm used to being around a diverse group of people. But I do, of course, identify as a Black man. And it was sometimes overwhelming, that feeling of not feeling as if I belonged, to be honest. Yes, absolutely.
I want to stay with you for a moment, Dwight, because here we are in 2021, and I'm moderating a discussion about diversity, inclusion, and equity within ballet. And then preparing for this, I was doing some research and I found all these articles that go way back, and titles that ballet has a diversity problem, how to fix ballet's diversity problem. And my question for you, Dwight, when we talk about what diversity should look like, I'm imagining I'm going to get a lot of different answers from different individuals. I pose that question to you. What does diversity look like in this world of ballet? And is it just beyond having a checklist of, we have this race and we have that race? It's beyond that, right?
I mean, I think so. I really think that art should reflect the world around us. And for many reasons. First of all, everyone doesn't look the same. We live in a world of multiplicity. I mean, it's the beauty of our world is that art, and I'm talking about dance, music, theater, all of the arts are a way for us to transport our audience. It's a way for us to tell our stories. And we all have different stories. And it has been my mission, especially since I started my company 27 years ago, for people to embrace the beauty of differences. For instance, the person next to me is different. Why not be intrigued, interested? I don't know. I was taught to learn about people who are different than you and to appreciate their beauty and to bring that to the fold. So for me, diversity, I mean, I started a company, my company is called Complexions for a reason. I started a company on the basis of that appreciation of the beauty of differences and bringing those kinds of people together. Diversity in ballet has always been a challenge. It's something that I do see some movement on right now. I'm happy to see that. More needs to be done. And, but again, it's also one of those things that doesn't happen overnight. It is historically embedded in our societies and in our world. So what we have to do is be aware, and, you know, as we say now, be woke. No, but you know what I mean? But you have to be
No,
aware.
tell them, be woke. Shoot, tell them. Oh,
Yeah, aware of it. And, you know, I wouldn't have all the answers. I don't think we have all the answers, but we have to keep talking about it. And we have to be able to walk into a theater and feel like we can see ourselves, whether it's by the color of our skin, or the stories that are being told, or the ilk of music that's being played, or the vibe of the evening, of the programming has to be inclusive in some sort of a way. And that is possible, and still maintaining the beauty of what classical ballet is. That is possible. It is absolutely possible.
Dominique, let me ask you that. Through your lens, then, what should diversity in ballet look like?
We don't have you again.
I think the audio gremlin is messing with Dominique there.
You hear me?
Yeah, can you turn your volume up a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me better now?
A little bit, yeah, we got you.
I agree with everything that Dwight had said. To me, diversity is being able to go to a performance and see multiple complexions on stage, and being able to see the personalities and the stories that each dancer can tell. Ballet is very unique, and every dancer has something to offer. And I believe that that is what makes a diverse ballet company. You don't want everyone to look the same and to dance the same way, because then there's no room for growth. So I believe that it's really important to have different complexions and to have different personalities and talents to show forth.
Nicole, I want to shift a little bit, because I want to ask about when little girls, when they meet you for the first time, you know, it's their first day in the class, or it's their first day. And can you see in their eyes that how important it is for them to see someone like you that looks like them?
It is one of the most important things. When students walk through the door at the Virginia-Highland Center where I am, I'm their first impression. So it's very important for them to see themselves in a position like mine, to hear from me where I've been, how I got here, that it's possible for them. It's absolutely important, because representation matters. They have to see that it's possible. And I see it from their parents as well. You know, you can't tell exactly what a person looks like over the phone. You have hope that when you come to a business or to a school, that you're going to feel comfortable and that you're going to trust that school to give you the proper dance education. But when they come through the door and they see me, especially when they look like me, they're filled with hope. They know that they've made at least some good choice, that there are possibilities for them. And I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see their faces light up, and I'm happy for them to trust me in that way.
Diane, I want to move a little bit from the performances, because diversity goes beyond that. We talk about access, and also making sure that kids from all various backgrounds, you talked yourself about the sacrifice your mom made and needing assistance. Do you think sometimes that is a reason why some parents I don't want to say push their kids away from it, but the cost or the assumption of the cost with ballet could be a reason why some kids, you know, don't pursue it or take it further?
Sure, I think, you know, when you add that to your daily life, and if that is your extracurricular activity, dance is very expensive. You know, there are, you know, depending where you go, you want, you know, exceptional training, you're going to seek out those places where you know you're going to get that. So that is always at the forefront of anyone's, you know, schedule, and if they can fit that into their daily life. You know, the arts is not always a first choice. You know, we may choose other activities. It depends on, you know, the kind of, you know, the kind of environment you live in and what you have access to. Are you exposed to the arts? A lot of the schools don't have those kind of programs. And if they do and they have to make cuts, it's always the arts that goes first.
Always first.
And that impacts young people, because that typically is their first exposure to dance in particular. And sure.
I have a question here from Teresa, and I want to remind everybody, if you have a question, feel free to type it into the box there. If that is a barrier for you in terms of visuals, raise your hand and I'll call on you. But this question is from Teresa, is for Dominique and Nicole. The person wants to know, when you talked about not being serious about ballet until 17 or 18, was this because dance was not present as a viable career, lack of role models? I mean, I think they meant to say lack of role models. What made it click for you? And I think, Nicole, you talked about it. Your guidance teacher told you you can have a career out of this.
Yeah, and I thought he was crazy. And it took a lot of convincing for my parents. They came to this country looking for opportunity, and to them and to many immigrants, a successful career is that of a lawyer or a doctor or a nurse or something like that. And when I told my mother I wanted to be a dancer, she's like, oh Lord, okay. So, you know, it was very foreign to them, but I had to ask them to trust me, to know that I was very smart. I had a good head on my shoulders. I was going to make sure that I put everything I could into becoming the best dancer that I could be. And now that's all they see me as the career that I am now. But it took a lot of convincing, and yes, it's because I didn't have a lot of examples. There were no examples of a Black dancer in my community at the time. So for me, to convince them that this was even possible was like, well, we don't really have any receipts. So, you know, it took a lot of convincing, but I'm glad that they did trust me, but it definitely wasn't easy.
So you had to do some convincing. And Dominique, what about you? Did you have to convince your parents, this is it for me, I know what I'm doing, trust me?
My parents were very, very supportive growing up. As I was growing up, ballet and dance in general was more of an extracurricular activity. And when I was ready to graduate from high school, I was faced with two paths, either to go to school or to choose ballet. And at my old school, I didn't have a role model to show me how to go and prepare for a career in ballet. Nobody at my previous school had ever done that. So I was very blinded, and I did not have any clue like how to go and pursue a career. And my parents really just took me under their wing, and they did everything they could to find a viable option. And that's when I switched schools, and I found a way to really pursue. But my parents were very supportive, and they gave me every possible way that I could to be able to pursue my career.
I want to go to Veronica, who has raised her hand. Veronica, are you unmuted? You can ask your question.
I was curious to know, I heard some of the comments about students having the ability to have access. So if there was an organization out in Atlanta that was nonprofit and they wanted to partner with the arts, how open would the arts be to providing maybe some seats within the theater to be able to introduce to young audiences the art of ballet?
Diane, can you answer that?
Sure. Can you contact me? No, I mean, that's part of my my job as community partnerships director. We actually, to give you a little background, we actually serve over 1,000 young people per week We are embedded in 3 schools in Atlanta Public Schools, Fulton County Schools, and Clayton County. And our dance program is actually built into their daily curriculum. And we have 4 after-school programs. We are, strongly partnered with the Boys and Girls Club and the Salvation Army Community Center. So part of our job, or my job, with the help of Nicole, is that, we provide performances for young people to attend. So, the Atlanta Ballet is extremely generous with complimentary tickets to the community, and we try to get as many students as possible to attend shows. So on my end, we serve community by donating evening shows, and on Nicole's end, she oversees the Kids and Step program, and she can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. So I am also the Kids and Step coordinator. The Kids and Step program is a matinee series for students, and we serve over 4,000, way more than that, 4,000 per show that we have each year. And even though we're in a pandemic this year, we do have virtual options for students. Kids and Step tickets are usually $10, and they're heavily discounted, and that's made possible through grants from us. A couple of them are the Rhoden Foundations and the Trammell Foundation that support us for discounted tickets for schools. We also partner with the City of Atlanta Office of Cultural Affairs Cultural Experience Project, where we bring a free Nutcracker performance to over 4,000 second graders every year. And so for many second graders, that's their first opportunity to see dance in a professional setting. So we are committed to bringing students a dance experience at a discounted price or for free. So like Ms. Diane said, you can contact either of us for information on how to participate in any of those programs and to partner.
That's right. When we get to the other side of this pandemic, I want y'all to blow their phones up and get those tickets for those kids so they can see this. Here's something someone is asking. This might be a myth or stereotype, but there is a perception that there are certain body types that are more suitable for ballet. Would you say that plays a role in the level of diversity of dancers within the ballet? I'm going to let Dominique or Dwight take a stab at that first. What do you think? Dwight, you're smiling.
Yeah, well, yeah. Definitely there's an aesthetic to ballet, but a body can be trained regardless of their natural form that they came into this world in. I think that to be excellent, it's about your training, and it's about your commitment to the art form itself. As Nicole said earlier, she had to work hard, and she knew she had to work hard in order to focus in, meaning that it's really about your focus and your commitment to the work that you need to do the work that you need to do. Certainly, there are certain things that are more attractive for the art form. I don't want to say attractive, but like, for instance, long legs. There's a particular body type that is quote unquote classical ballet body type. That has kind of gone out the window a bit these days because it's really not just that. That's only one element, but I'd be lying if I said that's not part of it. It is a visual art form. Now, does that play into the problem with diversity? It can. I think it can. If I'm honest about it, I think it can. I think that people sometimes have a very narrow vision of what is possible. And when you have a young person come into the room that wants to dance, I think they should be encouraged to do that. And however far they get will probably depend on their commitment to the art form itself. I truly believe that.
Matthew says, I appreciate what Dwight said about when going to a play, the ballet and the like. People want to see themselves in the story. Should ballet be competition or more affirmative action based? Interesting.
Affirmative action?
That's a whole nother show.
That's a whole other show. Yeah. I mean, I just reiterate again that, yeah, absolutely. I think that we have to be able to see ourselves. And, you know, there's many ways to tell the stories. I mean, and I'm saying that not just by the bodies and the people of color, that has to happen. You know, that's the most obvious way. However, there are things about my culture, there are things about this person's culture and that person's culture that play into what they bring to the work. It's the way I pick dancers now. I'm looking for interesting people. And ultimately, many directors are definitely looking for interesting people who have something inside to bring out. And that can fit into Swan Lake, Don Q, or the most incredible new world premiere contemporary work. Any of that, it can all fit. And it has to.
I want to go to Portia. Is it Portia?
Yes, Portia. Jeffrey.
Yeah. Ask your question. Go ahead. Ask your question.
It's really more a comment and a thank you to Miss Sales and the community piece of Atlanta Ballet. What she says she does is exactly what she does. And I just wanted to give our quick testimony. I have an 11-year-old that's danced since she was 2. And I just hit a point in my finances where I hit the brick wall. I could not plug into her dancing or anything more. And it was breaking my heart. And I'm going to try not to cry as I tell this, but to have to watch your child that had been dancing like 6 days a week, 3 classes every 6 days, taking like 13 to 15 hours a week, I just felt like a failure. And I was like, oh gosh, what am I going to do? And I had heard about the program for a few years and I kind of shied away because I just always thought and heard that Atlanta Ballet was predominantly white. And she had always danced in, you know, predominantly Black, smaller company programs. And so I reached out. I had to bite my pride. And sometimes that's what it takes. There's resources out there, but you just have to bite the bullet. And I realized it wasn't about me, it was for her. So in January, we reached out about January 2020, right as the pandemic was kind of kicking up, and found out about the West End Arts Center program. And through there, we connected at Atlanta Ballet because it was a program that they were doing and it was affordable. And actually, it was free, if I recall, Ms. Sales. So I was like, well, this is right up my alley because I can't afford anything right now. And it kept her going, you know, because she was moving furniture in the living room and coming home after school and dancing in the living room. And I was like, well, she's going to keep working at it. I'm going to keep working to find her a resource and a way to keep it going. So grace of God, we connected with Miss Sales in Atlanta Ballet, and she's able to keep pursuing her passion and realize that ballet is really what she loves. Out of all those genres that she was taking, ballet is really what she loved to do. So I just wanted to share that and thank Miss Sales and Atlanta Ballet, and thank you guys for doing this diversity discussion.
Dominique, I want to bring you back into the conversation because I asked Nicole about the looks from those little faces when they walk in for the first time and they see someone that looks like them. You experience the same when you work with kids or when you talk to kids about being a dancer? You get that same look, that same gleam?
I do, and it's always so fulfilling when you see a young girl or a young boy look at you when you walk into the studio and their eyes just light up and you think to yourself, oh, that used to be me. And I used to be the same way. And now to be in that position, it brings a lot of responsibility and focus, and you want to set a good example and you want to just lead the way for the next generation of dancers. So yes, it's super fulfilling.
So here in 2021, and Dwight talked about his experience, and Diane talked about her experience, and Dominique and Nicole. So here 2021, where do you hope we go from here? Because I don't know, 10 years from now, I don't want to still be moderating this conversation about what to do with diversity and inclusion and equity in ballet. Dwight, you said that there was some movement, but what about actionable outcomes? What does that look like? And either one of y'all can start that. How do you gauge whether or not this diversity and inclusion movement has been working? Is it simply by the sheer numbers more kids or people we see involved? Is it in the number of principal dancers? Is it the fact that we have more than one profile on 60 Minutes beyond the wonderful Mitzi Copeland? I mean, how do you gauge the movement? Ooh, I got y'all with that one.
I think, honestly, I think that's a responsibility that needs to be taken on by an entire organization. I think each ballet company is going to have their method of getting there if they are genuinely concerned about this. Because I do think that, it's been the ballet world, it's been, I don't want to say slow to get where we want to see the level of the amount of Black dancers on stage. Like, for me, it's not enough to see one or two. Like, we've done that. We did that. I feel like I saw that as I was growing up. I'm heading into the next journey of my life. And I feel like I've been stuck in that part of it. And I would love to see, now there's a sense of urgency, I think. A lot has happened in the past year, and the veil is off. And, I don't know if it was the pandemic. I don't know, there's been so many things that have happened to us. And I think it's been, I try to look at the positive of this hard time this past year.
Yeah.
And I think, it's made us really, really, really think about what's important to us. And I think it hit every part of society. It hit the ballet world in the head, and people were concerned. And, where are your Black dancers? And, you start hearing, people felt a need to express themselves. And I think it's a good thing. It's a very, and I think Dwight said this, it's a sensitive conversation to have. And we have to be willing to have it. And it's okay. And we have to have these conversations to make a difference. If, you sit back and stay quiet about it, nothing's going to change. And people need to know that, we care. We do care. I need to be able to bring all these community dancers to the theater, and they need to see themselves on stage. It's such a, it's so impactful. You can't tell someone that they have the ability to do something. You give them all the tools, and then the big picture is what is the big picture for them? They want to be up there. They want to know they can be up there after all the hard work and dedication and commitment. And that's what we instill. I mean, the ballet is about, excellence and providing that level of training for them. But there has to be a goal. They have to see, the end game there. So I think, I don't know if I answered your.
And I'll just
Well
piggyback
said,
on her to Rose, to say that, we have a great responsibility in the ballet world. And as the Atlanta Ballet, we have a responsibility to make sure that we say what we mean. We are very serious about our diversity and inclusion initiatives, and it's time. Yes, the pandemic has really pulled back the curtain. It's a long time coming, and we, of course, want to see more representation on the stage. And we're committed to that. Personally, for me, that's what I want to see. I want to be able to see that pride on the stage for me as a Black woman at the place that I work at. And we're excited. I'm excited for it to happen. I can't wait till this pandemic is over so we can do the footwork.
I want to ask this question because y'all know me. I like to get to the grit. And let's face it, there are some people who have biases and blanket generalizations about what a specific ethnic group can do and cannot do. People have their own lived experiences, and they always think that they know about somebody else. which could be based on how they were brought up, what have you. Here's the question. When we talk about seeing more Black ballerinas, more Black principal ballet dancers, is a reason for that barrier because there is some racism within classical ballet. Now,
Oh, okay. I'll take that. Yes, there is. It's as simple as that. Yeah, I mean, we can go along as business as usual. Like, for instance, like Nicole and Diane was saying, I don't know if it's the pandemic, I don't know. Everything rose to the top. Black Lives Matters happened. Racial injustice became, I mean, it's always been there, but it came right and rose to the top. And I think it brought, and this pandemic sat us all down and made us really examine ourselves and what our world is. And I think it gave people the time to actually conjure that and express it. And we had nowhere else to express it but through these channels like we're expressing right now. Yeah. I mean, it became the way and it became a focus. And you can't go along with business as usual. The current legion of directors of companies, because yes, okay, we're here with the Atlanta Ballet, that's one company, but it's the industry. Yeah. As a whole, we really have to change how we look at it. We have to change how we look at this. And I would just venture to say that without the contribution of people of color, you are missing a huge richness and majesty, because there's something that people of color have that is unique to their culture. It's the same thing when you think about the Latin culture. Special thing that they bring to the table. Why do we not want to have that on the stage or in our organizations? And I see it happening. And like Diane said, are we a little slow? Yeah, we are. This industry is slow because when I was dancing, it was the same thing. There was the one person of color. And so listen, I err on the positive because I think like this. Thankfully, there's some movement, there's some recognition, there's some awareness, and I see some action. I'm on a couple different coalitions and boards on diversity, and I see I have these difficult conversations, and I am kind of connected to some of the major artistic directors here in America, and I'm happy to say it is on their radar, and it's more than just on their radar. They are talking about it. They are talking about it. Now, we will see, as you said, Rose, this pandemic will be over. We will be back to business, and we will see if we can follow through. I have every reason to believe that we will. But we have to, and I'll just say this, I don't mean to take too much time, but I just want to say that it starts in arts and education. It starts with our support system, the people who sit around the table, the boards. It starts with the people who actually give the money to the companies to fund their seasons and fund their activities. It's not just what's on stage. It's everything that's underneath the organization that feeds into the art. And it's certainly the art. I don't want to say it's not the art, but because that's where we see it. Right. Well, I want to ask this, and Diane, forgive me if this falls on you, but here's a question, just how many Black, Indigenous, people of color are currently in the Atlanta Ballet's professional company or on the company's board? Because often we look at that governance when we start with diversity, because as Dwight said, if you have diversity among the board, you might have more opportunities to make sure you have initiatives and partnerships that represent this end goal, which is diversity and inclusion. So I want to put you on the spot, but how many folk are coming on the Atlanta Ballet board?
So I want to answer this question. I will say that the Atlanta Ballet is very active on just expanding that diversity and inclusion. We definitely are in a position to grow. We are part of the Equity Project, and our mission is to expand diversity and inclusion at the Atlanta Ballet. And our voices are being heard across the board. Board member, we have a task force committee where it's made up of faculty and board and outside voices, and to talk about what we need to do to make diversity and inclusion more embedded in the Atlanta Ballet. So these conversations have been, really growing, and actually implementing these into action would be an example of last season where Dwight came in, and we also partnered with Spelman, the Glee Club, and we shared a very different experience with the audience, a cultural experience. We brought Atlanta to church.
Okay.
And that was the most beautiful part of the engagement we have with, another community, and that is the future. I mean, I would love to see a more diverse audience, but it starts there, so it is definitely, we're actively working to grow and have a seat at the table. And I'm very.
Where you also just said that we brought Atlanta to church, but Atlanta brought Atlanta Ballet to church as well. Dwight brought church to Atlanta Ballet's audiences. I've never seen a performance like that before.
Yeah.
This was something so historic for us at the Atlanta Ballet, and that was very important to tell that story.
It was such a special experience.
So special to bring the community. Spelman is in our backyard.
Yeah.
For them to come to our stage, that was something special. And Dwight said something about, you have to support everything, not just putting the dancers on stage. That speaks volumes, because you're going to have a dancer on stage. Yeah, you can put a Black dancer on stage, but if they individually don't feel the support, if they're not supported by the staff, the faculty, the board, the funders, the donors, what's the point? You have to have the representation there, but also the support. The simple thing that we're taking right now to make sure that happens is our uniforms.
I was just about to ask you that. I was just about to ask you and Dominique to talk about the importance of having, and I'll be honest with you, I had never thought about this. I mean, look, I grew up playing basketball. What do I know? The importance of having skin tone, tights, shoes, and dance wear is so important for students and young aspiring dancers. And Dominique and Nicole, I'd like for you all to talk about that, because someone in the audience, you're like, really? That I never thought about that.
Well, I would say that people think about it a lot more than you think.
Okay.
People think about it a lot more than you think. And maybe when you're a young child, I mean, when I was 11 putting on ballet pink tights, I didn't think twice about it. But when I was on stage and there were photos or video, you better believe I noticed there was something different about me. And it is an aesthetic that we need to go away from. We need to see that our skin tone, we shouldn't apologize for the way we look. We don't have to apologize for the way we look. Everybody else needs to get on board with that. And that needs to be represented on stage. And it starts with tights, it starts with shoes. We have them, it's possible, we can do it. And in our school, when we start to put the dancers in these tights and shoes, it's gonna break barriers for them. They're gonna feel finally that they can look in the mirror unapologetically. They have lines too. And that for me as a principal, to show these students, today, I went parading around the studio, showing these tights, my dancers, and I said to one of the students, "Look at these. What do you think these are?" They're dance tights. And I said, "Okay, what color are they?" And she said, "They're brown like us."
Oh, Dominique, I want you. But
yes, so she did. I try not to tear, but even in 2021. It's a step forward, and I'm happy about it.
Dominique, I want you to add to that the importance of that.
I definitely think it's very important for that to be accessible to young dancers because ballet is a visual art. And when you look in the mirror, you have to see something beautiful and you want to feel beautiful and you want to know that others see you beautiful and that there's a clean line on your body when you look.
Mhm.
And so I'm excited for all of the students at Virginia-Highland to be able to have those tights and at the Michael C. Carlos to be able to wear those tights with their
Yeah.
classes and feel beautiful and confident and know that their lines match and it's just one clean line. I'm super excited for that.
I can't believe we're just a minute or two away from wrapping up, but I want to give each one of you just a few seconds to reflect and let everyone know again why dance is so important to you, and then, again, the importance of making sure that everyone has access to this wonderful art form. And so, Dwight, you take it away.
Yeah, it's so important because, dance, I'm a little biased because I'm a dancer, but I think that this art form has such power to it. And what I love, I just wanted to say this, what I do love that I see is the courage. There has to be a certain amount of courage. Like it was courageous for Gennady, the artistic director, to go ahead and say, we're going to do a ballet with the Spelman Glee Club and gospel music. And of course I was pushing, but the simple fact that we said, yes, when I say courageous, it was courageous because it was outside of the norm. I don't think it's, you know what I mean? I don't think that there's anything about it that is bizarre other than it hadn't been done before. That's all. And that kind of innovation in thinking, in the way that you think, as leaders in this field, it's up to us. And I'm seeing even the leaders that are on this panel, Nicole and Diane, you guys are, it sounds like I don't know everything, but what I've heard tonight, it sounds like you guys are doing such a fabulous job there in Atlanta, and keep going because you are making a difference. You are so making a difference. And I know from being a Black guy that started way too late, had I been a young man that came up and was able to get into a program with one of you at the head of it, I would have, it's such a wonderful thing that's happening is all I can say. Courage, put your blinders on, and don't let anybody stop you.
All right. Dominique, your last and your parting words about all of this?
I am just so excited to see as this conversation continues to go throughout the years to come, how ballet becomes more diverse and the new initiatives that come and seeing more people of color on stage and just broadening our eyes to the world that can be for ballet. And we have to know that it's going to take a little bit of time because ballet has been around for a while and things don't happen overnight. And we as people of color have to understand and be patient with things and just know that people's eyes are open now and things are going to quickly start changing, and we have to be excited for that and just continue to keep our eyes focused on the prize ahead, which is our love for ballet and wanting to be professionals and sharing our passion and our talents with others.
All right, Nicole.
Well, I always like to say to anybody who asks me why I do what I do is to say that my mission is to educate, motivate, and inspire everyone about dance. And I'm really passionate about that. When I first moved to Atlanta, I was in awe of how many Black people were thriving in the city, continue to thrive in the city. And Atlanta Ballet recognized that we have a real responsibility to represent the city of Atlanta and make sure that we have representation on stage, on our staff, on our board. And we recognize we have a lot of work to do. And I personally don't take that responsibility lightly. And it's really important to me to be able to continue to educate the city, educate myself, and anybody I encounter about how important it is to have representation in dance. And that's always going to be my goal. I'm always going to be an arts advocate, dance advocate till I die. Art form that encompasses every form of art that you can think of, movement, music, visual art, all that you can think of. Completely passionate about it, and that's why I'm here at the Atlanta Ballet, to make sure that I do that.
Diane, I'll give you the final word.
By me. I think I feel grateful to have a platform to, come full circle with where I've been. I just feel like my entire life, so much has been given to me, and I've had great people, affect the path of my life. And to be able to be somewhere where my voice is heard and I can give back to young people that may not have, those type of opportunities is the most gratifying thing that I could really do in my life. And I'm grateful to be in the position I am, and for the people I work with, and I've just been inspired by so many people in my life. And Dwight and I have crossed paths, and he's been a part of my path, and here we are again. So it really, you have no idea who's going to impact you, either for 5 minutes or if they've been a teacher in your life. So, no matter, how small or, deep we reach community, it's gonna impact, how we see the future. And I'm excited about what's ahead of us.
All right. Diane, Caroll Sales, Nicole Adams, Dominique Morel, Dwight, Rhoden, thank you all for what you have been doing your entire lives and inspiring so many kids. I know what it's like to look up and see somebody doing what you want to do. I know what it's like to have someone that looks like you tell you you can do this. And I know what it's like to have those people as mentors. So thank you. Thank you, Atlanta Ballet. Thank you all for attending this forum. Maybe next time we can all be under one roof, and Atlanta Ballet will have my Chardonnay as I moderate another conversation. Thank you all. Happy New Year. God bless. And let's make sure we stick to what we say we're going to do, not only to the panelists, but to everyone who's been raising their hands and sending all these notes. It takes a village. So let's make sure we do this. Y'all be safe. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.